Once again, welcome to our series of interview specials exploring the new ways in which businesses are using video to help them combat the coronavirus crisis. This week, we're talking about the ways in which the food service industry has had to adapt and the ways in which that has had an impact on marketing approaches. To take us through these changes, we're talking to PR account director, Nick Clancy of marketing agency Jellybean Creative Solutions. So hello, Nick, how are you?
Good to see you, Chris. How are you?
I'm good, yes. Maybe we can just launch straight in. How has the coronavirus affected the food service industry?
I think it's been roundly devastating, to be honest, Chris. I think for pubs and restaurants, cafes, delis, that kind of thing, a lot of them they've had to close, plain and simple. Some have managed to pivot and been able to start up takeaway and delivery operations. But that's still a very small portion, we think, of the industry itself.
Yeah, I've personally seen a lot of brands moving on to the delivery apps, but I guess that's not possible for everyone.
It's not. It takes a bit of infrastructure, a lot of thought, and it also is dependent on the product that you're serving, I think. I think the three most popular delivery items are burgers, pizza, and strangely pasta, which all have a decent holding time. Just by their very nature.
Yeah, I made the mistake of ordering, I think it was calamari once via Deliveroo. I'm never doing that.
Big error. No. They're just some things that aren't meant for delivery. There are all manner of reasons why I think people haven't been able to, be it money, staffing, resources. But those that have, it's still a reasonably positive outlook for them. But I think at the moment, let's say 90% of the hospitality industry is still locked down.
So what's the prognosis for that then? And what are you doing to help your customers prepare for that day when we can all eat in a restaurant again?
It's all about getting assets ready for that key date. At the very beginning of the year, you have lots and lots of campaigns ready to go. And we had to keep the bare bones of the campaign, but try and change the emphasis and look ahead and try and understand what the hospitality industry is going to have to go through and look like when these campaigns are launched.
So given these challenges that the food service industry is really facing at the moment, have you seen any brands take advantage of video to get access to a corner of the market they might not have had access to before?
Yeah, I think access is the key word, to be honest. I think we've got the vast majority of our audience now are either furloughed or they're unable to work. The chefing community, who almost all of our clients are aiming their products or services at. We've got unprecedented access to them because, the vast majority of them are at home and they're probably on social media a lot more than they have been. So there has been a lot of thought about, what kind of content can we use that might inspire them? So when they then go back into the kitchen, they will potentially have a second look at a product or a service that we're offering. And video is a massive part of that. Through social media, we're starting to use video a lot more effectively, I think, to try and inspire this captive audience while we've got them.
And what does that look like then? Just literally down to the nuts and bolts of it. How are you inspiring them through social media?
Yeah, it might be something a bit more overt in terms of usage or just inspiration, recipes, things like that. Did you know, we can use this for this. We had a couple of chefs talking yesterday about using kind of expensive premium ingredients. Well, that's going to go out the door. One of them said kind of, rather facetiously, but actually probably they are looking at this, that they're going to have to use a lot more lentils, things like that. And then if you are marketing an ingredient supplier or something like that, it's all about that inspiration angle.
Yeah, we've certainly noticed that clients seem to be moving away from that sort of in-your-face kind of edgy angle in their videos and going for something a bit more empathetic.
Without a doubt, I think that's absolutely true. I think a lot of the campaigns that we had ready to go or sort of as near as damn it did have that kind of disruptive element to it. And while I think there'll definitely be a place for disruption because that's certainly when you're trying to target chefs as one key kind of audience that we do target, the disruptive stuff really kind of cuts through. But we have tried to take the edge off a few of these different kind of campaign communications, simply because it's just not the right time.
Have you got any examples of projects that maybe were started before the coronavirus, but that have had to change, and how have you changed them?
Yeah, there's been plenty actually, and in the absence of any live action work, that we simply haven't been able to do. We've been using pre-existing footage and then repurposing the message. There's been a lot more kind of just simple animation work. You're seeing a lot more advertising now at the moment using kind of user-generated footage where you have that kind of, maybe that kind of weird camera angle or the shaky phone footage. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the authenticity edge is actually quite nice. Do I see us sticking with that kind of thing when this is all over? Hopefully it all is over. No, not really. I think obviously there's been some real positives in terms of video come out of this whole thing, namely the way we communicate.
Yeah, you mentioned there that you think that we won't stick with this sort of self-made and fairly rough-looking, maybe fairly quick and dirty production value video too far into the future. Yet, as you also mentioned, that there's a nice air of authenticity. I'm thinking about the Tesco advert that's been going around. That work, they seem to work quite well. Do you think they will have a life off the end of the social distancing measures if they ever come to an end?
I actually think these kind of things started before this. I think if you look at when we talk about the authenticity angle, if you look at things like the Food Love Stories campaign, that you mentioned Tesco's, that they came out with, that was all kind of user generated and shaky kind of phone footage. So it's quite prudent that these people do keep advertising through the coronavirus. But do I think it's going to continue in the same vein when this is all over? No, I don't. I think there's always going to be a place for that lovely authenticity. But I do think that kind of big, brassy, brash branded content is still really, really important in the video mix. And I look forward to the day when we can get a decent sized crew and go and do some crazy off the wall things as we did before. I think there's always going to be a place for that.
Yeah, so do we. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
And thank you very much for watching. As ever, don't forget to subscribe, and we'd really appreciate any feedback you have in the comments. See you next time.